Hello and welcome back to Utopia. Our last video was on the electrical system on Utopia, the entire system, and the small changes that we might make to it. And this video, and probably the next, are about the appliances, but not just appliances in the traditional sense of the word, also appliances insofar as all the navigation equipment and all of that, the lights, the navigation lights, the windlass, the winches, all of this sort of stuff. So absolutely everything that requires power in order to run. So in the background, we've given you the system. Now in the foreground, we're giving you what the system actually allows us to do. So I've had a look at all of the items, and we can break it into a number of different categories. But the first one of which is, I'd like to call it the boat. So the standard stuff on a boat that needs power to run, that oftentimes you don't think about. For instance, the toilets on the boat. The toilets have their own pump. No one's thinking about that the toilet is an electrical device, but it is also an electrical device and a plumbing device as well. Just the panel lights. So on the DB board, you got a panel, or the LPG control. So there's a controller that controls the LPG and also manages the safety of the gas. Anyway, so I'll go through all of them and let you know how we've set everything up on Utopia, and in some instances whether it comes from the factory or whether it was done aftermarket by Leopard in Cape Town for us. When it comes to boat items, of course, lights on a boat are pretty much standard. So whenever you buy a boat, there will be at least a few lights on the boat. We've done a whole lot extra in that category, but we'll get to that later because we're just talking about those items that I consider the boat, part of the boat. Then, of course, the water pump. Now, this boat comes out, they actually supply it from the factory. I think older models, they didn't do that. In the Leopard 45, they didn't do that. Maybe they're doing it now on the Leopard 46. But they provide dual redundant water pumps. And I'm talking about the water pump that pressurizes the water system in the boat so that when you open the tap, you've got water. Basically, the way that works is pipe coming from the, let's call it, a pipe, the 15 millimeter pipe that they use, coming from the water tanks, and that pipe comes into a T. The T splits up and down, and then it goes into an L. The L splits that way, and there's a pump up here and a pump over there, and they're in parallel. And again, the reverse happens, that the line comes back into one. And the concept is, if one pump fails, the other just takes over. Now, are you ever going to need it? Absolutely. Ours failed. One of our pumps failed in Annapolis last year in about October. We've since bought another one. I haven't replaced it. I really should replace it before we do the Pacific Ocean crossing. And I probably don't need to replace it. I can probably repair it, but it doesn't matter. I bought a brand new pump. We're going to take out the old one, put the new one in, and then open the old one because it's probably just the pressure switch. So apparently there's, and by the way, I purchased two spare pressure switches. So it's part of the boat. It's exceptionally important. If you don't have dual redundant pumps, buy yourself another pump. Creating that parallel, putting the two pumps in parallel, really easy, but at least you're not going to get an awful shock while you're in the middle of the ocean, not be able to get water out of your water tanks. Anyway, I actually feel quite vulnerable at the moment knowing that we were running off one pump. Then we've got the toilet pumps I was mentioning, and what have I got to mention about that? So it's not electrical, but what we've done on Utopia is we've had the toilets switchable to salt water or fresh water. So that's quite an important thing. Seawater eventually can give off that sulfur, sort of almost like a sulfur egg, rotten egg smell when it's been sitting for a long while. And if you're sensitive to that and you're going to get off your boat, you really want to leave fresh water in the toilets. Some people just prefer to use fresh water all the time. We prefer to use seawater when we're out at sea because that way we're not wasting power. And the reason I call that wasting power is it takes power to make water. So using seawater for us is really just part of our power management. And then, of course, another boat item is the shower pumps, or as some people call them, the gulper pumps. They then take the shower water when you're having a shower and put it overboard. So the reason I mention the bilge pumps is, of course, they're hugely important, and Leopard provide 4 bilge pumps, 2 in the engine rooms, 1 in each engine room and 1 in each bilge. Now, what we've done is we've put an additional bilge pump higher. So if the bilge pumps are struggling, if there's a breach and we get a lot of water coming in and the bilge pumps can't handle it, let's say my bilge pumps, when it gets to that level, they will click in. We've also got water monitors monitoring the bilges. So we went for a brand called Ajax, which is actually also our alarm system. Part of the Ajax system is you get humidity, sensors, so that when we remote, we can check the humidity on the boat. We've got a dehumidifier that operates on a humidistat. But part of that Ajax system is the water sensors positioned just above the factory bilge pump to let us know if there's an issue. And we can actually see that issue remotely. Actually, to be quite frank, when I set that up properly, but that's the way that works. And then, of course, very, very important as part of the boat system, together with all the other things like bilge pumps and shower pumps and toilet pumps and water pumps and lights, is the deck light. Now, the deck light switch with Leopard, they put that in the distribution board. I find that not a good thing. We use the deck light switch a lot because you're changing sails at night. You need it, and all the time you've got to go to the distribution board. I think that switch needs to be readily available, probably even at the helm. You can see I've got the emergency lights, floodlights, and what have you right here. I've got a whole lot of switches over here, and around the corner is the distribution board. Now, when you're looking for that deck light switch, it's amongst all of those switches somewhere. And at night, when you can't see what you're doing, you're sitting around feeling for the deck light switch. Now, it happens to be there, but I really think that switch needs to be at the helm station. It really needs to be at the helm station, because when you're out front at night or trying to operate the sails, you need that thing quickly. Or when the crap hits the fan for some reason, you need to see what's going on with your sails, you need that deck light switch. And of course the navigation lights that come standard, the panel lights, which I've just shown you, the panel, that's part of the boat stuff. The LPG control I mentioned, and then the Saloon fridge and freezer. So as standard with a Leopard, so you get the Saloon fridge and freezer, and nothing else. That's the only item they provide you, which is a fridge freezer item. Everything else on a Leopard has been put on by the owner. So in our case, and we'll go through those sort of things in another video, we ordered the aft-deck fridge. After that, there are other items like the windlass. When anchoring, that's a standard boat item. And in the case of Leopards, they give you your 2 forward winches are powered winches, and your portside winch, which is the main sheet winch, that's got no power on it. Now, we elected to power that one, so it's an option that the factory give you. But that there is pretty much the boat 12-volt items that are running off of our 12-volt bank, which we spoke about in the previous video. Then to get on to some aftermarket items, we added the handheld bidets, or as the boating term, which I quite enjoy for them, is Bumguns. So we added Bumguns to every single toilet, and quite frankly, the Bumguns provided, they were well installed, but a very good job done by Leopard, but the actual Bumguns they provided were not good quality. 2 problems with them. One, the actual hose pulls out of the handle, and there's no ways to get that back because it's crimped. The guy in Cape Town from Action Yachting actually mentioned it to me. He said they break off, and I'm going, well, why would you sell it anyway? But I didn't believe it because they look like good quality. So we've already had 2 of the 4 break off, and when we go back to Sydney, we'll just go get new hoses. We had the factory option for a deck wash fitting and pump installed, and we had that put on aft at the sugar scoop. And then once the boat came out of the factory, I felt that I'd also like one forward, so we've had a deck wash fitting added forward. Now, additional to the deck wash fitting, and right near to that, we've got an extra hose, if you wish, feeding the pressure washer. And up until recently, we had a Karcher pressure washer. I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of the Australian Gurney brand. And the Karcher packed out, as they seem to always do. You can find a lot of faults online with these Karchers. But that's a perfect situation because we've got a plug, a 220-volt plug, and we've got the water supply right there going straight into the pressure washer, which means we can leave the pressure washer in the forward lazarette, take out the hose of the pressure washer and walk around the boat and pressure wash without actually doing anything, just turning on the pressure washer, no carrying it around the boat or any of that sort of thing. And then the next option, which we took from the factory, are the fans in the cabin. What a waste of time. Those things, maybe they move the air a little bit in the cabin, but you can't, other than on your feet in the cabin, so you can't even feel them. So we actually went and bought these DeWalt, or Deervolt as we call them, fans. All of our tools on this boat and battery systems are all Deervolt, and these fans are unbelievable. They're absolutely amazing. In fact, anybody who's been on this boat that has their own boat has ended up going back to their boat and buying these Deervolt fans. They're fantastic. In fact, the batteries last, if you don't put it on absolutely full, which you don't need to. I mean, if you put it on absolutely full, it's a gale. It's too much. But if you put it on exactly what you need, they last right through the night and plus some. So they're really good indeed. And then, of course, in a previous video, we showed the TV lift in the Saloon. So the TV comes nicely out from behind the navigation station. Very important to us, of course, in this boat is refrigeration. So we added the 12-volt aft cockpit fridge, which gives us, it doubles the refrigeration. So the fridge freezer from the factory gives you one drawer of freezer, one drawer of fridge. That's it. So now we've got another drawer of fridge, and then of course we got our two domestic freezers, chest freezers. Now, another thing that we added, and unfortunately it hasn't really been a success story, but can still, because all the electrical points, the 12-volt points are in and it's connected up, is our diesel heater system. So we've got basically it's a truck diesel heater system. They're very common in the northern European countries inside boats. They're also very common in Canada, not so common in Australian boats at all, but we were concerned about being cold and trying to save power, keeping warm and trying to save power at the same time. With the current Frigomar air conditioners that we've got, you can turn them over to heating mode, but you're using massive power. So we thought we would get power from diesels. That there is the diesel control screen. We've got 3 diesel heaters in this boat. One operates in the port aft cabin and the utility room. Another operates in the starboard hull, in the main cabin, the master cabin, and the VIP cabin at the front. And the one that I've just shown operates in the saloon only. This is what the outlets look like. They are exceptionally efficient. So these diesel heaters have had the diesel plumb to them, and they've got little pumps that bring the diesel in. They've had the electricity plumb to them, and they also had the bugger up, which was Action Yachting in Cape Town did the exhaust system. And you will see on our first videos we were getting massive water ingress through them, that we've had to have them disconnected until someone can properly fit an exhaust system to our diesel heaters, and then we could use them. We can't use them now because otherwise all we'll be doing is pumping the diesel exhaust into the boat, and of course that's not very healthy. But we purposely didn't uninstall them in case we get somewhere that somebody can handle the putting in a new exhaust system. And even if we haven't by the time we sold it, to rip it out is not a big deal if that's what the new owners want to do. And then, of course, as I mentioned, we have additional bilge pumps in this boat over and above what the factory give us. So now, staying with 12-volt, but moving on to lights. We've got the massive mast spotlight. Together they draw, the 3 of them draw about 700 or 800 watts, so they are powerful. In the V&A waterfront marina in Cape Town, 2-3 in the morning, I'd try them out. I'd hit the button, the entire hotel in the front of me, which was 100 plus meters away, pulled away to about 3, would light up. I'd leave them on for about 2 seconds and turn them off, and here and there some lights would pop on. The occupants of the hotel would be looking around to see what it was that had flooded their hotel rooms with light. So they really, really are powerful. And we've used them quite a bit coming in and out of anchorages where we need to see what's around us. Melinda will sit on the front princess seats, I'll turn them on and she'll look, and then we'll turn them off because of the power. And another 20 seconds or 30 seconds later, turn them on and she'll have a look as we're moving through places. And you see everything. I mean, it turns nighttime into daytime. And the brand has been fantastic. In fact, we need to replace some of the other lights, not these, but with that brand. And when I get back to Australia now, if we've got enough space for luggage coming back, I'll be bringing those back. So that's those that I'm referring to the mast floodlights there, obviously. There's also a mast spotlight, which we operate with a joystick, and lets us turn the spot left or the spot right or further out or whatever. So from the helm station, I can operate and zoom in and focus on one thing. And then we've got the forward headlights, which we showed in a previous video, but that we've got off at the moment because the previous headlights, which we had, the big round ones, which were fantastic, unfortunately their brackets were made of metal, and no matter what we did, they kept on rusting. So we're wanting to get the bar lights, sort of an 8-inch bar light under each Princess seat from Steady, and it must be the Steady brand because they're really, really good. Really expensive, but really good. And the same thing with our, I call them headlights, but the afterlights that are on the solar arch that shine backwards. I mean, we haven't needed them yet, but man, they also do a very, very good job of turning the back into almost into daylight. So if we do need to see, actually the way I have used them is when we're underway and we're trying to get a gauge of how big the waves are, the following waves and what have you, turn it on and you see these monsters rolling behind you kind of thing. So they're very useful, but we've got to change them as well. They're not the best quality. They're very good light. They give very good light, but the fittings around them are just sort of rusted and, you know, not looking great. And then of course we got spreader lights on the spreaders, which are very necessary for the aft part of the deck. You know, the deck light that the factory provides, wonderful when working with the sails for the front, but it leaves the aft part, the lounge, it leaves it a little bit dark when you turn on the deck light. So with those spreader lights, we can really see it. Again, it turns nighttime into daytime, which is pretty easy. They're not very expensive lights. They're the same, I think they're Nights, N-I-L-I-G-H-T-S, the same as our aft floodlights. So yeah, they seem okay up there. They're little 4-inch lights. I'll probably just leave them up there. They're not bad. We also had the tricolor added to the top of the mast. Now that's what we use when we're underway. We just turn on the tricolor. Then we've got a mast strobe, a strobe at the top. You know, we kind of felt, to be honest, we haven't really used it that much. But if we're in an anchorage and we felt we wanted to be seen, we didn't want people driving into our boat, we'd turn that on and try to attract attention to ourselves. It's also an emergency light if we're out at sea and we need help or whatever. You know, I think having it is good. It's not a very expensive thing, but it's there and it's a nice to have.